Credit cards, most of us have them, but using them wisely, well, that's another subject. Common misconceptions tend to swirl around credit cards, making the card game a lot harder to play. School's First Federal Credit Union is here to separate fact from fiction and help you take control of your credit card use without all of the confusion. Let's welcome Nathan Calhoun, Calvine Point Branch Manager for School's First Federal Credit Union. Hey, Nathan.
Hello, thank you very much.
Yes, happy to have you on. Okay, so we're talking about credit, Nathan. There's so much advice out there about credit cards, but let's clear this up once and for all. Do you really need to carry a balance to build good credit?
That's a great one to start off with. That's one of the bigger misconceptions out there, as I hear it a lot. So short answer is no. The two biggest factors when it comes to credit cards and the way they affect your credit are going to be your payment history and your credit utilization. The credit bureaus will actually take all of your what they call open-ended credit lines, which are credit cards fall into, and they'll take all of those limits and they'll come up with a pool. And that's your overall credit available, right? And then your carried balances that you bring forward month to month, if you're holding those over and not paying those off, that'll be considered your utilization, and they'll say it's a utilization rate. Now, it turns out quite the opposite of what the misconception is that using more of that credit can actually damage your credit. The best thing you can do for a healthy credit report on your credit cards is to actually pay them off monthly, or create strategies to pay them off very quickly to keep that utilization rate down. And that's going to lead to much better credit scores.
All right, so let's talk about those unused credit cards. Some of us have them, they're just collecting dust. So we've heard people say you should cut them up, maybe cancel them. Is that a smart move, or is that another myth?
That is absolutely another myth. And actually, I would almost warn that closing your credit lines down can actually damage your credit score. What ends up happening is that, once again, we talk about that overall pool. We want it to be nice and big, so when you do use it, you keep your utilization low. Well, if you close a credit line, now you're shrinking the pool. Another thing that happens is credit reports love a nice, lengthy credit line, one that's been open a long time. If you close one that's been open up a really long time, you're shortening the length of your overall credit score. And, you know, in the end also, what could end up happening is you end up lowering the actual mix of credit lines, different credits that you have, like auto, home, credit card. You condense that down, and once again, could lead to an outcome of actually a lower credit score.
Okay, all helpful information. Let's talk about minimum payments as well. Some people say you should never pay only the minimum. Is there any truth to that, Nathan?
So that overall is not true, but I call it good advice. You know, I would just say in your monthly budget, if all that's allowed is for you to pay the minimum payment, yes, because it is still very important to make your payments on time and get those payments in. So if the minimum payment is what you can make this month, great. That being said, making the minimum payment is going to make it so you pay off those debts a lot slower. Overall, you're going to end up paying a lot more interest on those. And once again, you're using a lot of that utilization, which might actually damage your credit. So when you can, please, you know, try to come up with a strategy to pay them down as quickly as possible.
Okay, so it makes sense. At least pay the minimum payment, but if you can add a little bit more, if you can afford to, that's a good way to go as well. All right, so what about having multiple credit cards? Is that bad for your credit score, or can it actually help?
So, you know, my personal opinion is that one great credit card that serves all your needs, used responsibly, can be just fine. But it actually can be recommended to have more than one credit card. I would say that the one thing that I would point out, once again, you had another credit line, you're increasing the size of that pool. If you do have to carry balances, now you have a nice big pool to use. The other thing that ends up happening is that what if your credit card doesn't do everything? Different cards have different, you know, things available, like say rebates, rewards on them, lower interest rates. So sometimes it's good to have another card based on what they do, as long as you're using them responsibly. One thing that I would always mention when you're talking about multiple credit card accounts, don't open up too many in a short period of time. That's just, you want to kind of stretch that out, be strategic. And, you know, a lot of companies out there will incentivize folks to open up another credit card, maybe something like, hey, do you want 15% off on today's purchase? Please open our credit card. I would say that should not be a determining factor for the credit cards that you open. Things like, you know, the rewards, features on them, the rate on them, fees on them, should be the determining factor of when you open up an additional credit card.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned with multiple credit cards, it's almost like that disclaimer, use responsibly.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, what's your best advice for managing credit cards responsibly without falling into common traps?
We mentioned a couple of them here.
Yeah.
Make sure you're making your timely payments. Always keep that payment record intact. Try to keep your utilization under 30%. That's when you're still in a happy place and you're not necessarily damaging your credit. Check your credit report at least annually, but more often if you have that available. And then just try to come up with really good strategies around taking on debt and paying your debt off really quickly. If anybody has any questions, though, please come on down and see us at Schools First Federal Credit Union, or check out our website at schoolsfirstfcu.org.
There you go. You heard it from Nathan himself. And you can visit one of the many Schools First Federal Credit Union branch locations as seen on the screen, and find out more online by going to schoolsfirstfcu.org.